What is up, guys? It's the Flopbuster movie show with Tony and Gabe back at you with another episode. Today we are going to be talking about the Fall Guys, some movies we've caught up on, and whatever else we want to talk about. X-Men, whatever you got, Gabe. Let's do it. How you doing, man?
Doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. It's we've talked about recently. It feels like blockbusters in terms of the movies. We haven't seen many lately, and it feels like when we go to the theater, it's a lot of smaller movies. And I feel like now, in the month of May, we're getting everything. We got Apes next week. We have The Fall Guy. We got Mad Max Furiosa. So it feels good to be back in the movies, and we get these big films from really cool filmmakers again.
Oh, absolutely. I'm excited for Apes next week, so I'm excited to see that.
Oh, I'm beyond excited for Apes, and I think we'll have a show on that. I've heard a bunch of good things. Hopefully, we'll have a review out. What have you seen lately, man? What have you been up to?
Woo, what I've seen lately. I mean, obviously the show title, right? The Fall Guy. The Fall Guy. I ended up seeing one of my classics, and I know you're gonna call me a gatekeeper for this one, but I see my old classic, Blood In, Blood Out. I see that about 2 to 3 times a year. And it finally hit Hulu. It finally hit a streaming service. So I had to watch it for it.
You know what? Look, give me a second. I got to fix my background. I can't live my background like this. Talk about Blood In, Blood Out for the people.
Blood In, Blood Out. Oh man, what can I say? It's like it's one of those movies where it's like your introduction into, I don't know, Chicanismo, I guess, into Mexican hoodism in a sense. I mean, if you're Hispanic, I think it's one of those movies you watch as a kid with your uncle, your dad, or something. It's basically a family movie, in a sense. There's a lot of violence, and there's a lot of prison and murder and shit that goes on. But it's a good flick. It's a good flick to check out. It's just 3 hours long. It could have been condensed, but it's a 3-hour long movie.
Movie's 3 hours?
That movie is 3 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you talked about Blood In, Blood Out. I haven't really been seeing... I've seen some stuff at home lately. I rewatched Pineapple Express. Let's see. I think we might check out that Challengers movie. We might check out the Sexy Tennis movie.
I heard multiple... Like, I haven't checked it out, but I've heard, like, contradicting stories about it. Like, okay, so Letterboxd has a hard-on for this movie, right?
It's got like a
4.7, some shit like that for this, right? And all the comments say, "Oh my god, it's amazing," but I've heard that it's not that like
sexy. I heard it's not that sexy.
I heard that like it plays it up like it's gonna be so sexy, like this 3-way tennis thing, between all these people, right. And it just like falls flat. And I've heard that from a couple people that have talked about it. So I don't know.
I know. Yeah, it seems like the film bros and the Letterboxd, they love it. It's got great reviews all around. But I have heard from some people it's not as sexy as these trailers let on.
No, I mean, if anything, like one of what I would consider like a sexy, love triangle type of situation would have been that movie. I want to say Savages. It had Amber Heard in it. Aaron Taylor Johnson. Taylor Johnson. And I forget the third guy, but that was a really sexy thing, with cartels and the triangle and everything, polyamorous relationships. Like that's a sexy movie.
Yeah, Taylor Kitsch. He was in everything.
Oh, Taylor Kitsch, that's right. Yeah. All right, could you imagine that like fucking love triangle between like Taylor Kitsch, Aaron Johnson, and Amber Heard? Oh, Blake Lively. Blake Lively, right? Blake Lively. Okay. My bad. My mistake.
I was like, wait, was it Amber Heard? She's probably done a movie like that too. Who knows?
Who knows? I was going to say she probably shit the bed a couple times there.
Well, yeah, we might check that out. Maybe tonight. I'm not sure. I've heard good things about it. But for me, I've been paying attention to the NBA games too, the playoffs, and I'm curious who do you think is going to take it all?
Long shot. I really love what Minnesota has done this season, and I would love Minnesota. I'm not a big fan. I guess my Bulls and my Rockets, they won back to back, so like I can't say I'm not a fan of like repeats, but like when it's other teams constantly repeating, like if I find like it's kind of boring. Like, and I know you how you are and shit like that, and I know the chat's gonna get crazy, but I find Joker's game just so fucking boring. I don't find him at all interesting. Now, mind you, that's not saying that I don't think he's great. I never said that. I just find his game is boring, and I'm not very interested in his game.
I think that's fair. Because he's so big and he's so good at everything, and it's like he's doing it effortlessly. Like he's just kind of moping around and tossing the ball, and all of a sudden he's got like 30 points, 14 rebounds, 17 assists, and they're fucking repeating as the champion.
Right. I mean, and that's again, and it's sort of like Tim Duncan. When you look at his career, the big fundamental, hence his nickname. He was also methodical. Like he was boring to watch. All right, like I'll be honest. And again, I'm not taking away from their greatness because Tim Duncan won so many championships. He's considered one of the best power forward center combos of all time. Again, not taking away from the greatness. It's just that type of game to me is super boring. I like the flashiness. I like the Kobe flashiness. The Allen Iverson flash. Give me some flash.
No, that's
do
true.
it with some pizzazz.
I think that's a fair thing to say, right? Because if you talk about like the championships of the 2000s, like we talk about the Kobe championships with Shaq, the Kobe championships with Gasol. We talk about the Flash, Dwayne Wade, his run in 2005. Right. And everybody kind of glosses over the Spurs because they were great. They did a lot of great things. They were always in the mix, but they weren't that flashy or fun to watch. It was Tim Duncan and a bunch of European guys. Yeah. Shot the three.
Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili. It was like, again, it was fundamental basketball. The way basketball was meant to be fucking played, right? Fundamentals, right? Inside out game. You got some good shooters out in the wings. You got your center, holding down the middle. Again, fundamental basketball. The way that the fucking Nuggets are built, it's just boring to me. Like I like some fucking flash to the game, again, but that's just my opinion on that.
No, I think it's a pretty fair assessment. I don't know who's gonna go far this year. Dependent, like looking at the East has kind of been a little underwhelming to watch. Right. I'm sure the Celtics will make it out of there.
I'm sure they will.
The Bucks shit the bed.
Of course. You know what? Maybe give New York a shot. Like
I would love that.
Listen, I have an East Coast. I'm like anti-East Coast and as all hell, but I feel like the Knicks finally deserve it. Like they haven't won a championship since the 70s. I can't go wrong with Tom Thibodeau since he used to coach the Bulls with Derrick Rose. Like he's built a really good, solid squad over there. Like can you imagine like a Knicks Timberwolves finals?
That would be fun. I would pay to see that over if it's Denver and the Celtics. I don't know. I feel like the Celtics they're soft, dude. They're soft. Like I think everybody that watches the game says this like every fucking year, but there's something about that team that just they don't have that it factor to finish it off.
No, I think it's just Tatum just to me doesn't seem like he's that guy.
No, I agree. I don't think he is. I think Timberwolves would be great if the Timberwolves go all the way. That would be insane. But I guess we'll see tomorrow. Tomorrow's game 1 with Denver, which is a crazy matchup. To me, it's like whoever wins tomorrow is going to take the West.
Right.
So.
Absolutely.
Who knows? I want to pick your brain about one topic I did throw in the title. And I think I brought this up to you in our group chat with the guys a few days ago. And that's this article that came out about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. DJ's work ethic. He's been known as the hardest working man in Hollywood. He only gets like 3 hours of sleep. He's at the gym for another 3 hours. He's all day on set. He's constantly reading scripts. This article kind of brings the gauntlet down on all of that. And we get a different side of, by these accounts, DJ kind of being a hypocrite.
Right.
Now, I don't. Who knows? Who knows? It feels like a hit piece, right? But this is these are credible sources. This is an article shared by Deadline, The Wrap, The Hollywood Reporter. Everybody kind of echoing the same thing. And this all revolves around his new movie coming out, The Red One. It's a Christmas action comedy. It's going to be for Prime Video. You'll be able to watch it exclusively on there with Chris Evans and I believe J.K. Simmons. And that movie has been in production hell for 2 years. It's gone over budget. It's $250 million at this point. For a streaming movie, that's super high. That's a crazy budget to have for something that's just going to be you throw on in the background at Thanksgiving or whatever.
Right.
But the stories coming out about The Rock have been essentially that he does not have a call time on set. When you get a call sheet, everybody has a call time. Every actor down to the PA, the grips, whatever. He does not have a call time. He gets to show up whenever he wants. He doesn't pee in public, which is like an insane thing. Like I guess when you're that like rich and you're so on top, like why the fuck would you want to pee in public at that point, right? So he just pisses in bottles and hands it to production assistant to toss. We also got note that on Red Notice, him and Ryan Reynolds got into a huge fight over his tardiness, and I'm guessing that everything we heard from the Fast and Furious, that whole fight he had with Vin, I'm guessing a lot of it had to do with this. Because I don't know why else they would fight. Besides both, I mean, those are two dudes that are super egotistical.
Right.
And they both want to be number one.
Two alphas.
Yeah. What do you think about all this? What do you think about this article? I sent you some of these pieces and what they were saying in here. His brother-in-law running everything, or like them trying to take over DC Studios. Right. Like, what do you think about all this?
It's hard to be a Rock fan right now. He had this meteoric rise into superstardom, and we've talked about this ad nauseum on our channel, how we wish he would take more challenging roles like he did at the beginning of his career, right? Walking Tall, Pain and Gain, these types of movies. And now it just seems everything's been cookie cutter, like you said, he's reading scripts. Like, what scripts is he reading? Like the scripts that his buddies wrote for him? Like, it's not like he's out there reading a fucking Quentin Tarantino script that he got sent. So it's not like he's out there reading a fucking James Cameron script, right? Fucking even a David Ayer script. It's just most of his. If you look at most of his movies that have been produced recently, like Rampage and Skyscraper, it's all been like, oh, my buddy wrote it. I'm gonna get my buddy director to do it, and then my ex-brother-in-law is gonna produce it, and my ex-wife is my fucking agent, and she's like get the financing for it. It's like very, it's a very self-contained world that he's in, and so it's sort of like to relate it back to like basketball. When Charles Barkley said Michael Jordan just surrounds himself with yes men, that's why the Wizards did terrible and why the Charlotte Hornets did terrible. It's what The Rock's been surrounded himself with is nothing but yes men, and it's whatever he wants. Yes, man. Yes, Rock. Yes, Mr. Johnson. Yes, DJ. Whatever it is, and it's sort of like it hasn't worked. Like it's worked out well until now. With the flop of Black Adam, everything came out to the forefront, right? Because Warner Brothers just threw him under the bus, right? The movie flopped, and then all of a sudden you got all these leaked stuff of like, hey, The Rock wanted this to happen. It was The Rock that wanted Henry Cavill back. It was The Rock that did this. The Rock wanted Superman in the movie. And then all of a sudden that's like his downward trajectory in Hollywood at the moment. That's not to say that he can't come back from this. I mean, he's very charismatic. He has an unbelievable persona to him. Maybe why he went back into wrestling for a little bit, just to sort of reset, ground himself. But again, talking about lateness, they were talking about at WrestleMania as well, that he was late to one of the WrestleMania pressers, and he got shit for it too by the fans. So where there's smoke, there's fire, and I think that he needs to take a step back in a sense.
My question too is, when did all this start, right? Because let's look back at The Rock's career. When we talk about, he's always compared to in the early days to Arnold, right? And Arnold had a very clear amount of hits. You look at True Lies, you look at Terminator 2, Terminator, trying to think what's another one that Predator and Commando. Like these are movies that made a ton of money, and they put him on the map. And he's this huge star. Jingle All the Way did really good financially,
Don't
right?
forget Conan the Barbarian, like
And
one of his.
Conan.
But
The
see,
Rock, what has he had? But like, right? Because look at his movies. We love Pain and Gain. I think that's a great Michael Bay movie. It's really dark and funny. San Andreas does pretty decent at the box office. We look at Central Intelligence, a fun movie that does pretty decent at the box office. But The Rock never had some kind of bona fide hit. And you're right, he's never had a director that challenges him. You ever notice he works with like the same two directors too?
yeah,
It's Jake Kasdan and Rawson Marshall Thurber, who's done Skyscraper, Central Intelligence, and then he's doing. There was one other one that he did with him. I'm gonna blank on it, but I find that so interesting. Is that what is like a bona fide hit that The Rock has had to really, I guess, get us to where we are now, right? Like if it's somebody like Robert Downey Jr. having this kind of attitude, I'd be like, oh, this guy, he made like, these Marvel movies, billions of dollars. I guess it makes sense that he's kind of a dick. He's not. We all know he's not.
right.
But I want to know what made The Rock this way. Like thinking about it, I love The Rock, but I can't think of a movie that The Rock's done that's just like, this movie is the best. It is awesome. It is just top of the line. And I can't really count the Fast and Furious movies because he kind of comes in halfway
He's a
through anyway.
cameo. He's a cameo on the Fast and Furious. Like, yes, it's awesome to see Hobbs in it, but it's not like he's carrying those movies.
No, not at all. I mean, if anything, his best work is in 5, just because it's the first time we see him and Vin going up against each other, butting heads, being on opposite sides of the law. But these movies that he's kind of built his brand with, like Skyscraper and what's the Rampage and San Andreas. These are movies that are built through what can I do to create my IP and my face, and there's a formula to all these movies that he does. They aren't as successful as you would think. If anything, they probably do well overseas, but that's about it.
I mean, he has a huge name overseas, obviously, right? But here stateside, I mean, like if you look back into like our action heroes of like the 80s and 90s, which he was supposed to take over that throne in the 2000s, right? Stallone and Arnold, they took risk. I mean, Stallone had, Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, right? He had that was it that Italian mafia movie? I forget the name of it.
He had Oscar.
Oscar, right? Oscar. I mean, there's a whole episode in our backlog of you talking about Stallone movies and like the weird trajectory that he took. I mean, he took, Rambo, and he took all these guys, right? Arnold took Predator and, sure. Judgment Day, right? Terminator, Judgment Day. Like they took them and they made them theirs. And there's nothing that you could see that The Rock has said that like, this is my movie. Even Pain and Gain, right? That's Mark Wahlberg's, like, that's Mark Wahlberg through and through, right? Central Intelligence, yeah, he's good in it. It's funny, but what's the funny part? Kevin Hart, right? The Mummy, his screen debut, he was CGI'd, and that's Brendan Fraser's vehicle. Anything that's been The Rock, starring The Rock, has been, in my opinion, a cookie cutter, like screenplay done by a friend, and then just put Dwayne in front of the camera. And it's not. Again, I like the guy. He's very charismatic. He's the people's champion, And remember, he also had that little. I think it was after Walking Tall that he did with Sean William Scott, that he had like those Disney family movies, like the Tooth Fairy, and like so he went that route, But then what? After that, it was a lot of PG-13 rock. Like there's no hard R rock. Like where's the hard R rock?
Another thing too is that he was super inspired by George Clooney in the Casamigos story, right? But the big difference between him and Clooney was that George Clooney has barely been in any bad movies. He's like exclusively done really good films with great directors. The Ocean's trilogy, he's worked with the Coen brothers, And yes, the Casamigos venture was super successful, and all these actors try to chase that. Oh, he made this brand and this identity. He's done Nespresso now. He's done all this. But Clooney did all of that in the back half of his career. Once he's done like incredible film after incredible film, The Rock took that model. He's trying to push his tequila and what's his Zoa energy drink and all these
Right.
things, and he wants it to all
Under
be
Armour.
Under Armour. He wants it to be one identified brand, and that's him. He's the selling point, much like you said. If you ever notice, his movies barely have any love interest, any intrigue, danger. He's never in danger in any of these movies. He never uses guns, and he barely uses guns in any of these movies anymore.
No.
So it's so weird. It's almost like he's a life-size toy. He doesn't exist. There's nothing
Exactly.
real about him. But those early movies, you talk about like The Rundown, right? Like The Rundown's a really fun early 2000s movie, and that's where he gets that sort of passing of the baton from Schwarzenegger,
Right.
who sees him in the club and says, "Have fun in there." You know, like it's a fun, cheeky moment, and for the audience, it's like, okay, it's The Rock's time. The Rock is the new Schwarzenegger, and that movie really sets the standard of he's the guy, right? And he does a couple of he takes a few risks. He does Southland Tales, which is a really bizarre movie. He did those family movies. He did Gridiron Gang, Faster. Like he was doing things that were all right. Well, where can I put my ability in? Or that movie Snitch, right, where you play his son's in like lockup or something. He's got to get his son out of jail. And that I feel like from San Andreas on is this era of The Rock that we see now, where it's tequila, it's Disney movies, and it's him, and that's it. That's what you get.
Right.
And he does not want to be challenged at all. And I think that's why we are where we are now. It's like you said, all these yes men. Nobody's telling him no, and I don't think audiences are going to keep showing up for this kind of thing.
No, they're not. And here's the thing, right? Is there's something along the lines where it's too much branding, and I feel like if you're an A-list Oscar type, right, and I may be wrong, right, and that's fine. I'm occasionally mostly wrong all the time, but you don't have a brand in a sense. Like, what's Johnny Depp's brand? Is he out there shilling his stuff? No, and I know Johnny Depp is a bad example, right? But
he's probably bad. He can't do anything.
Right, he can't do anything anymore. But like Robert Downey Jr., right?
Right.
Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, right? Like let's take one of the biggest fucking Hollywood stars of all time, Tom Cruise. What is Tom Cruise's brand? Like, what is he out there shilling besides Scientology? You know, but again, he doesn't, like, Tom Cruise doesn't have a tequila or rum or nothing like that, right? It's sort of like Hollywood or these actors want to do what the athletes do and create a brand, right? Like you got the LeBron brand, you had the Kobe brand. I mean, obviously, all this branding started off, it goes all the way back to Michael Jordan and his shoe deal, right? Like Jordan started the branding thing, right? And everybody chased the brand. Like, hey, I got to get a brand. I have to be marketable and I have to have a brand. But I don't think you need one, especially not in Hollywood. Like, if you want people to show up, like me and you, I mean, you and I are going to show up to movies regardless, right? We watch so many fucking movies a year. We're going to show up to a movie regardless, right? It could be shit. It could have bad reviews, but we watch it because we make our own opinion off of it. But for the most part, most of America doesn't really fucking care if you have a brand. Like, they're going to either show up or not, depending on how the trailer is, how everything is. I don't need my movie star to have a fucking brand attached to it. And that's where we're going to the point in Hollywood, because as much as I love Ryan Reynolds has a brand, right? He's a master marketing genius with Mint Mobile and Aviation Gin and Wrexham, FC. So like he has all these brands going on at the same time, which again, we have fun with Ryan Reynolds movies. Is he going to win an Oscar anytime soon? Is he going to be an Oscar winner? Maybe, right? We don't know. Maybe he's still young in his career. But right now he's just a brand. He's Ryan Reynolds with a brand. He's The Rock.
He's the Deadpool thing really kind of became Ryan Reynolds.
Right. The Rock has his, his thing was the wrestler, and then it became The Rock was the next action hero.
Right.
And now is The Rock what? Like
The brand.
the
You just
brand.
get called it. He's the brand.
Right, the brand.
We talked about, and I think that's the big problem with these movie stars. Well, Ryan Reynolds is a good example too, because I feel like he also is very, I like those Deadpool movies, and I like a lot of movies Ryan Reynolds has done, especially early in his career too, like the romantic comedies he's done,
The
and
Proposal, goddamn, The Proposal is just one of the best. I would say top 7 romantic comedies.
yeah, he's done that. He's done Waiting. A lot of people quote Waiting and Just Friends, and Van Wilder has its
Van
fans,
Wilder, yep.
but he's another one where he kind of found that win in Deadpool, and that's become him. And he's been able to use that sort of sarcasm and wit to sell Aviation Gin, to sell
Mint
Mint
Mobile.
Mobile. That's the other one, yeah. So it's interesting to watch these two guys, but The Rock has kind of just been. I mean, at this point, the only people I hear talk about him in a positive light have been wrestling fans who are watching WWE currently. I know you guys all watch it, and I've seen a lot of people praise like him turning heel and all that. I don't watch wrestling, so I know nothing about it.
Right.
But for somebody that watches movies, I can't tell you the last movie he's been in that I didn't go more than, oh, that was fine, but I'll probably forget about it in about 20 minutes.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit in our chat about like Red Notice. It was fine. It was an art heist movie, and that's about what it was.
I don't remember a thing about that movie.
It had that it was like that spy movie where where you're what's it called? I keep on forgetting the name of it. A double agent. It's like a triple double agents. Like everybody was just like going against each other.
Yeah, there's
No.
Now, I feel like Netflix is very good at making movies that you never remember.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
Has any of their big like budget movies been good? Like Bright, Red Notice. What's the other one they did? I didn't watch Rebel Moon. You watched those. I didn't watch them.
Yeah.
And now they're doing the R-rated cuts of those movies. So I guess there's no point in watching the original cuts.
Well, that's Zack Snyder, right?
He said that was the plan the entire time, which I think is bullshit. Like, I think that's so fucking stupid. With the Justice League thing, it made sense, right? He's like, oh, I didn't get my cut out. And then Warner Brothers is like, all right, fine, we'll do it. You're telling me you had the director's cut from the start? You guys are just double dipping? So people have to watch the shitty movie just to watch your version, which is probably better?
Twice.
Oh, fuck that. I'm not watching either of them. I'll tell you that right now.
You're not going to watch 4 Rebel Moons?
No, I'm not watching one Rebel Moon. There was nothing about that trailer that made me go, I can't wait to see this. It looks exactly like the things he's been churning out for the past like 10 years, which is for the most part not good. But yeah, I think DJ, I know he has the movie, I think it's called is it The Wrecking Machine or the one about the UFC wrestler or the UFC fighter he's doing.
Right. It's an A24, so I have high hopes for it because it's A24. Hopefully he gets challenged, but
we'll see. And I think the problem with him going over to A24 is that he can't do these things that they're talking about in the article, like being like the set and pissing in bottles, having a no call time. These are movies that are done for like $10 million, $20 million max. Right. The Rock can't just come in there and like, all right, I'll just show up whenever I want. And,
Which, let's talk about that real quick. Who hasn't pissed in a bottle before, though?
Okay, listen, everybody's done it. But you're telling me, I feel like I would be pissed if I was working on that set, especially if it's other actors, too, that are calling him out. There was also, they said one actor on the set of San Andreas tallied and counted how many times he was late to set. And this isn't like an hour or 2 hours. It's like 8-9 hours. Right? So you're telling me this guy was 8-9 hours late to set. And then as soon as he gets there, he goes, nobody's taking a break. We're working straight through.
Because he's the hardest working man in Hollywood.
And he's at that point, he's pissing in bottles. Fuck him. Fuck that water bottle. And I saw another post too. I don't know if I showed this to you. I think I sent it in the chat where he was doing some workout video. You see the piss videos in the piss bottles in the video. He pisses in Voss bottles.
It has to be glass.
Yeah.
Because he pisses excellence.
Insane, dude. All
which
right.
which as somebody who works out that much, like I saw the picture, that was a little murky pee. Like it wasn't clear pee.
It was very yellow.
It
Yeah.
was very yellow pee.
I thought it would
Like
be like, at least like a light hue of yellow, like just
right,
kind of maybe grayish, just like that silvery color.
right. It was very murky. It was like brown water that you get from like a
Yeah. I
fucking
don't want to smell what the Rock is cooking there. I feel like
you
his
know
piss must smell bad.
I think it might. I think it might.
Yeah, I know he talks about taking 3 showers a day. He's super weird about taking showers and stuff. I feel like you catch the Rock on a bad day, he's sweating. He smells awful.
Oh, that dude's a sweater. Like you could tell he's a sweater. Like he sweats from anything. He's
Yeah.
just perspires a lot. Oh, let's
And
not forget
always
also he's doing that live action Moana for some reason.
he's doing the live action Moana. And you gotta remember too, he's eating nothing but like fish and brown rice.
Ugh.
His piss is gonna be awful. The mercury levels in his piss are just crazy, dude. Like they're just his piss is gonna smell fucking terrible. Asparagus, salmon. He's eating like all the healthiest, grossest shit ever.
I will say this though: if he is pissing in Voss bottles, that means he motherfucker is girthy. Girthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I'm over here fucking, I'm over here fucking pissing in like little Pepsi bottles over here, right? Motherfuckers pissing in
That's
a
true.
girthy ass fucking Voss bottle.
But you know what though? Maybe that's why he does it, because there's no splashback. With the Voss bottle, the lid is so circular.
Right. No, I get you.
Yeah,
It's pretty big.
maybe he's onto something. Maybe we should all start pissing in Voss bottles. If you're at a construction site,
Well, yeah, listen. And construction sites, there's usually fucking porta potty or porta johns. I don't know how you call them wherever you are in the country. Here in Chicago, they're porta potties. I don't piss in those because they smell fucking horrible.
They're awful, dude.
It's like 100 degrees and it's like a fucking steam room of like shit smell. All right. Also, if you're not like the first person to shit in a porta potty, like I'm sorry, I'm not going to be like the 20th person to add shit on top of shit on top of shit. Like that's just disgusting. I'm going to go to McDonald's and find a fucking place to shit. If I feel like I'm going to go shit somewhere, I usually
Wait a minute, though. McDonald's, McDonald's is like top 3 worst places to shit.
Dude, every McDonald's I've been to is like top 3 best places to shit. They've been clean.
Dude,
you're not going to a ghetto McDonald's.
Where are you going? Okay, so in this hypothetical where you're taking a shit at a McDonald's, that's bullshit, right? You're going to the best of the best McDonald's, right? You're going to these fancy McDonald's.
Naperville McDonald's. I work in the suburbs of Chicago. Naperville. Geneva.
You're telling me okay? So give me your top 3 places to shit if McDonald's is on there.
If McDonald's is on there, right, and I'm obviously in a rich suburb, right, and I'm in a rich suburb. So again, I'm not working the south side of Chicago, right? I'm in a rich suburb, and I have to shit, right, and it's not at home, right? It's gonna be either a McDonald's, Menards, or a Home Depot.
Are these only when you're at work or just in general?
Only when I'm at work, because why would I poop in general? Like I'm not an avid pooper in public.
You sound like a serial pooper. Like you're just.
I'm not a serial pooper.
You're just going from Menards to McDonald's.
When you have to go, you have to go. Right?
Those are not even in the top 200 places to take a shit.
Where are you taking your shits at?
Fucking Barnes and Noble. One, that's like the cleanest fucking bathroom ever. Nordstrom's. Nordstrom bathrooms are crazy. Neiman Marcus, Macy's. Those are the places I trust.
Okay, but we work in different places, right? I'm in construction, so I gotta find. I'm either at a Menards or I'm at a Home Depot in the morning. Lunch, I'm either going to McDonald's or some shit. Like you got a fucking like fancy like I work at a fucking mall type fucking situation, right? You work in a restaurant by a mall. In a sense, so you got a plethora of Barnes and Nobles and Neiman Marcus and Macy's to go into. I don't have that luxury. It's like, what could I find to take a shit that's going to be clean enough where I could put my bare ass on the toilet seat?
Fair. The best place I ever took a shit was the Water Tower, Neiman Marcus, It was the best. I don't know what it was on all the way up on the third floor. It was fancy. The stalls were like private rooms. They were private rooms. And I thought for a second they would have the guy there, the bathroom attendant. No, but they had everything set up there like he was. They had the
Dude,
colognes and stuff.
they're not private rooms. They were just they were fitting rooms.
No, they might have
You're taking the shit in the fitting room in a fucking corner.
it's that's how fancy they are, man. All right,
I've seen it. I've seen some fancy spots. I have seen some fancy spots.
I can't use the bathroom at the we have the mall by us, the Fashion Square at Scottsdale. In Scottsdale, there's plenty of places. It's all like rich people to use the bathroom. But inside the inner mall, it's these nasty teenagers, right?
Well,
you don't want to use the bathroom with them. It smells awful. There's piss everywhere. But you go right upstairs to Macy's or Nordstrom Rack, or not Nordstrom Rack, regular Nordstrom. It's the best. You feel like you're in heaven. It feels like people are taking care of you. Like somebody cares out there. There's a janitor that cares. Like they're making sure it's clean for you.
You're getting the restroom attendant like, sir, would you mind wiping my ass?
Yeah, that's what it feels like. And honestly,
like a little butler.
That would be sick. All right, let's talk about the Fall Guy. We're 36 minutes in. We haven't talked about the Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy.
What's the Fall Guy about, Gabe?
The Fall Guy is a love letter to Hollywood stuntmen who get no love from anybody, right? Basically, let's take The Rock for example. The Rock does all these action sequences, and it's actually not him, it's his stunt double, or it's somebody else on the stunt team driving the car, making the jumps, doing the helicopter stuff. And this is a love letter to these stuntmen. So basically, Ryan Gosling plays a stuntman for a movie that's done by Emily Blunt. And then, some cool action fucking sequences happen, some cool stunts. There's a little bit of a murder mystery in the movie as well, where the stuntman becomes involved in, and it's just a fucking fun ass popcorn type movie, a movie that you would feel could have been released in the summer and done massively, but it was released, just this weekend, and for all intents and purposes, it's definitely a must watch in my opinion.
No, I agree. This is we saw it Wednesday. I was very excited because looking at the summer releases, we went over it, right? And it doesn't feel like there's a lot this summer. It feels like there's significantly less, even though apparently there's more movies than last year. It feels like there's less movies than last year, in my opinion. Thinking of how many trips I've gone to the theater, but we also had that month where we saw nothing but horror movies come out, like week after week.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're getting the start of summer movie season, and this feels like a big summer action movie. It almost feels like Jerry Bruckheimer movies from the 90s, like movies that you would like Speed or like Bad Boys you go to see, or I would even compare this to like Jackie Chan's like American movies, like Mr. Nice Guy or like Rumble in the Bronx, like things like that is like English speaking films where there's a lot of crazy stunts and car chases. And this movie has a little bit of something for everybody. There's great comedy. You got a couple
a love story,
a great love story.
Great love story.
This movie's it's a rom-com. It's a romantic comedy. Like this is what this movie is.
Right. And I can't forget the soundtrack. The soundtrack was also killer, from Kiss, Taylor Swift. I think I heard some Journey in there. Great soundtrack.
Phil Collins too. There's some Phil Collins in there.
Right.
Yeah, this is a movie that kind of wears its heart on its sleeve. You can tell David Leitch. This is, again, like you said, his love letter to the stunt community. They also use footage at the beginning of the movie to their past films from 87 North, like Nobody, Atomic Blonde. If you love Kiss, the song that they use is essentially, that's a main character in the film itself, is the song that they use here, which every time it plays is just awesome and badass. They'll use different renditions of it. And halfway through this movie, I was having fun with it. And I was like, wow, it's kind of small scale. Like for the first 30 minutes, you think it's going to be like this mellow romantic comedy hanging out on the sets. Because in the trailers, you see them do the stunts, but they never really get into detail of like, what it's going to be.
Right.
You don't, because they're working on movie sets. You don't know what's real, what's not in their world. But no, this movie really, like once it starts going, it's like, okay, how can we top this sequence? We'll do this. How can we top that sequence? We'll do this. And each action sequence just gets bigger and bigger. And what I love about this movie too, right, is within past few years in American action movies, because still, like, if you look at places in the Indian market or like the Asian markets, like India, Korea, China, they're doing great action movies, right?
Right.
Those guys know what they're doing. In America, we get a lot of movies where you see an action movie and you kind of forget about it, or it was fun, but like you don't really pay attention to the like Dwayne the Rock Johnson movies where it kind of all just looks the same. Every action scene in this movie is different and memorable and awesome and unique. The use of the dog Jean Claude, like the dog is
Right.
just awesome in this. Everything that they use, even Ryan, like they show, there's a montage of all the stuntmen doing the stunts at the end, right? Not a
Right.
spoiler. I mean, it's a really cool sequence. But even Ryan does some of his own stunts. But then you see Ryan's stuntman doing his stunts. Winston Duke as his friend Dan, who's like this movie quoting stunt coordinator, is like so badass. I came out of this going, man, I wish Winston Duke would do more action movies. I would totally see like a Predator with him, or I don't know,
Ooh,
something
that's
cool. Like
nice. Yeah.
he has this cool charisma about him, and their chemistry going back, like you have this great chemistry between Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling, and then you have
Yes.
Ryan Gosling and Winston Duke, and you have Ryan Gosling and Jean Claude the dog. Like
Right.
all the characters in this movie are memorable. The way they shoot the action is awesome. The comedy, it's very funny. And what I also love, it just makes you feel good coming out of this. Like the way we talk about summer movies, like in yesteryear, like 15, 20 years ago,
Right.
you came out of there and you just had a great fucking time. You're like, fuck, I want to see that again. Like that scene was so cool, or this scene was so cool.
Yeah.
I
I
felt
mean,
that way coming out of this.
well, and like you said, on our recent rewatches of The Matrix and The Mummy, like we came out of those movies, 25
Exactly.
years ago, talking about holy shit, that shit was fucking cool. Whether it be the special effects, the stunt, the stunts that were pulled off in those movies, and you're like, God damn, that was fucking cool. You came out of the Fall Guy, yes. You come out of the Fall Guy, and you're like, holy shit, that was fucking cool. Yeah, and I hate to say throwback and use this in this way, but we've gotten so used to green screen. And again, I don't know the specifics, and you know more about it, right? But I felt there wasn't a lot of green screen in this movie. I felt like a lot of the stunts were practical stunts. They weren't CGI'd. It just felt like a throwback to those awesome action movies from the 80s and 90s that we got pre CGI in them.
No, I agree. And I think about I rewatched Speed a few weeks ago, right? Speed is one of the great like stunt movies. Like it just everything you could think of with that bus they do. When Keanu is like ringing the thing and he grabs onto Sandra Bullock and they go off the bottom of the bus
Right.
and they just slide out. Things like that are in this movie. Like Ryan's hanging on the back of a car and he's fighting all these different guys, and they make you believe in a hero that's vulnerable. He could definitely be killed. He's not this ultra badass. He's a stuntman. He can fight, but he's doing things with the smarts of, okay, how would I do this if I was in a movie fight scene?
Right.
And how can I apply that to me trying to just survive against these real life bad guys?
Right.
That stuff was just so cool. And they really play with the meta-ness of all of that, like setting people on fire or like a dummy, like weapons, blanks and guns. There's one of my favorite gags in this movie is that it is a scene with a gun full of blanks. It's just, man, it's just every time I think about this, like I had a fun time. This is the most fun I've had at the theater this year so far. I've enjoyed plenty of movies, mostly horror movies, because I feel like that's what we've really been getting in the beginning so far. I really enjoyed Dune. I thought Dune was a great epic sci-fi film.
I have yet to see Dune.
I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it more than the first one. I know you were a little just kind of mid on the first one, and we talked about it before off camera. I think you would enjoy Dune. Dune is really cool, but this is a different kind of blockbuster.
No,
it
is,
like you said, a throwback to those movies that we talked about that are just like, how can we put on a show? Big stunts, big comedy, big romance.
Exactly. I mean, and there's different type of stunts, right? When we talk about throwback to these stunts, right? And obviously you can have stunts in any movie, like comedies and whatever, right?
Right.
And this one particular, because it is an action stunt movie, I do want to sort of focus, as we're talking about the Fall Guy, in action movies. But remember, we had the times where our guys, our leading actors, were big, beefy men. Arnold, Stallone, Dolph Lundgren, like they were all big, beefy. Carl Withers, right? They were all big, beefy men. And then with Ryan Gosling into this mix, like the new age action movies are, I'm not going to call them scrawny because they're not, but
They're
they're
super,
not.
yeah, he's like super fit, but not jacked.
Right, they're not
You know?
jacked. They're
Right.
not like bodybuilding type, right? They're just super fit. Like they look like they just ran a marathon and did some fucking CrossFit like earlier
Right.
in the day.
They look like
type.
they do Pilates or something.
Exactly.
Is,
like I'm gonna do some yoga, whatever, which there's nothing wrong with that. But and again, and it goes back to
like,
The Rock, and I hate to hit it with The Rock, but like that's what's missing in action movies. I have nothing against the Pilates, CrossFit, yoga, muscle man. Nothing against it. I enjoy those movies, but I do miss the big beefy action hero.
You like beefcakes. You like looking at big sweaty guys.
Big sweaty guys like that. Big sweaty guys for action. Just do it for me.
If The Rock hired you as his oil boy, would you take the job?
Yeah, I would oil up The Rock for sure.
What I was thinking about with this movie too is like the Colt Seavers is very much a character that like I was thinking you talk about a different kind of action hero. I was thinking like Bruce Willis because Bruce Willis came on the scene in the 90s and he wasn't big and jacked like these other guys. He was in shape, but he was like a more normal physique.
He was in shape, but like you could tell, like, okay, so he was in shape, but let's say he was a 225-pound man in shape, right? Like he wasn't big, he wasn't like a 300-pound, just muscles upon muscles type in shape, but he was like a 220 in shape. I think these guys are more like 150, 175 in shape guys.
Yeah, they're more agile, and I think that's. Looking at Gosling, he's like 6'2". That'd be like 180, 185, something like that.
Right.
But I think honestly, those guys should be jealous that he's got this movie. Now, I'm talking about like The Rock. I'm talking about who's another one, like Statham or Vin Diesel. These guys that are kind of like, oh, I make action movies. This movie's better than anything they've done in years.
Yes, but also, okay, so Statham is old and he likes doing movies about occupant, the mechanic, the transporter. Like he likes doing
he might like, well, this is about a stuntman.
Right. Vin is a little bit too old. And even at Vin's heyday, he wasn't like super jacked. He was like, he had some muscle definition. Right. But it wasn't like
he likes to wear girdles. I hear he wears girdles.
Right, like you could tell he had like a beard, like his Dom character, right? It's like, yeah, he has muscle definition in his arms, but he also likes to drink those fucking Coronas. He has a beer belly. It's like he's working out his arms, and he's also fucking drinking Corona as he's working out. Like he wasn't always like Vin. Like Vin never came across to me as like a big like Arnold, Sylvester Stallone type. He just was a big guy.
In those Fast and Furious movies, there's something that bothers me. As much as we love those movies, but that Dom and his sister are just non-descriptive Latinos. Like they hang out in Brazil and Rio, and they claim that's their home and stuff. But I'm like, I don't know. Like, what the fuck are you guys?
All right, so this wasn't what the show was supposed to be about, but a little history that I've done read up on because I was also a little like, well, they're Latinos because fucking Vin comes in with his like Mi Familia and all this.
And then Rita Moreno is their like grandma,
right?
And, like one of.
So apparently they're an Italian American family. So you obviously love them immediately. Who grew up in obviously Mexican side of Los Angeles,
right?
That was the original mock-up, was them being Italian American. As the movies have progressed, they've slowly been incorporating more Hispanic into it, in a sense. So, like, yeah, now they're like I think they said Puerto Rican. It's not Mexican, but I think it's like Puerto Rican or some Caribbean mixed with Italian heritage in it. So it's like a Puerto Rican Italian, like a Puerto Italian type, an Italian Rican, whatever. Type family. So yeah,
I don't think Vin knows himself.
Yeah, Yeah, so Jordana Brewster and Vin in those movies are Puerto Rican / Italians, which makes no sense because their half brother or full brother, John Cena, is completely fucking white. Like he's sheet white, like a ghost white. At least Vin has a little bit of a brown tint to him. Jordana Brewster, she looks like she tans for those movies, so she has a little bit of brown tint to him.
Right.
Like
I can buy those two siblings. I cannot buy Cena is the brother of Vin.
Exactly.
Even when the movie's trying to do like the whole Godfather thing of let's flash between both stories at the same time.
Right.
Like you never like okay, like well yeah, I feel bad what happens with dad and stuff.
So even the flashbacks, right? Even like the brother, the Cena, the younger Cena in the flashbacks, he has a little bit of brown tint to him. A little bit of brown tint to him. You're gonna tell me that little bit of brown turns into like 100% like white? Like, you know what I'm saying?
They never mention him in any of the movies besides that too. That's insane. And that's the work of Vin. He just comes up with these things and just like, nope, it was here the whole time. You guys are gonna believe it. Trust me.
Right. It's like, okay. Like I've seen like kids who like tint themselves into like color, like they're born white, and then as they get older, they like naturally just darken. I've never seen somebody who was like born dark, like naturally just fade
Speaking white, they
white.
just become John Cena.
Right. Anyways, yeah, we got
the Fall Guy.
The Fall Guy.
It's yeah, if you like movies that have great action, comedy, stunts, it's got a little bit of everything. An ending that's just very cheer-worthy, and I would totally see the sequel. I mean, even if they end it here and it's just like a one-and-done movie, I'd be happy with that. If they decide, let's put them on another adventure, that's cool too. But as is, I think this is just a really solid, really fun action adventure. I would definitely pick it up when it comes on physical media. This is the type of movie you take your parents to. You have fun. It's like a fun family movie, right? Like there's a little bit of something for everybody. It's not a superhero movie. It's exactly what we talked about, a type of summer blockbuster that feels vintage. It's weird calling it vintage because, but that's really what we have now. Like those kind of action movies, they look a very specific way. And this, for a big Hollywood movie, this feels like, you know, a throwback to stuff that we did in the 90s.
Huge explosions. And you also, you know what's great about what was cool about it is it gives you like a behind the scenes look on how they do stunts.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, it gives you the wires, and they show you the wires. They show you like the prop rocks, and you know, they show you like the weapons, and they're made of foam, and they show you everything. They basically show you what's behind the curtain, and it makes it work.
Yeah. I wanted to highlight Aaron Taylor Johnson. I didn't think he was going to be in it as much as like, you know, the trailers let on, but I thought he was very funny. Once they really get going and showing him in the movie, he had a lot of great lines, and he stole a couple of scenes. I thought that was cool. There's a great cameo in this that I was laughing the moment it came on screen. I bet you were too, because I think you're a big fan of this person. But yeah, it's a joyous time. Like it put a big grin on my face watching it. That's about it.
Right. Absolutely. I know we're also going to talk about our favorite movie stunts, right?
Yeah. I think we'll talk about our favorite movies, like stunt-driven movies, all of that stuff.
Yeah. I feel like I want to beat you to the punch because I already know what you're going to have as one of yours.
Okay.
But it's also one of mine, and that's going to be Death Proof by Quentin.
Oh yeah, no, I mean you got to talk about it
with you know, Kurt Russell, Zoe Bell. That was just amazing stunts in that movie.
No, I agree, and yeah, strapping her to the car, and that's another movie that's just it's very when you're doing like that's kind of like a slasher exploitation movie, a chase film. You have to do it practically. You have to, and they use real stunt people. Zoe is a real stunt person. So yeah, that's a great choice. Speed was going to be another one that I talked about earlier. Speed has nothing but crazy stunts and real explosions, and yeah, that's another pick for me.
There's another one. Honestly, anything in Jackie Chan's filmography is just amazing because he does all his stunt work.
Yeah.
broken legs, broken fingers, broken arms, whatever you name it, he's had it and he's worked through it all and he's done it all. Like you can't talk about stunts and not talk about Jackie Chan and the amazing work that he's done from his work in China all the way to his American work, whether it be like Rush Hour. Like I know a lot of American fans were introduced to Jackie through Rush Hour and like all the shit that he did in Rush Hour. I know you told me to watch what, The Policeman, I believe it was called, A Police Story.
And the Police Story 1, 2, and 3 are like those are like that's like his Beverly Hills Cop. Those are
Right.
his, you know what I mean? Yeah, like those are just stunts galore.
Right. And so yeah, again, yeah, anything Jackie Chan is just phenomenal.
No, I agree. I mean, you talk about like Rush Hour, even like the little things he does in Rush Hour, and that's like him Americanized. It's not even to him to his full capacity. That's just like here's what I can do. Here's a little taste of what I can do,
Right.
and it's still exceptional. Rumble in the Bronx, he does crazy things in Rumble in the Bronx with like chairs and refrigerators, and there's chase sequences where he's jumping from car to car. That movie is just crazy with stunts.
And the movie that obviously flopped and it wasn't too well received, but the one he did with Owen Wilson, Shanghai Noon.
Oh, the Shanghai movie.
He did the stunts on the horses.
Yeah, he does a lot of stunts, and even in his old age, the movie from a few years back, The Foreigner, he did his own stunts in The Foreigner, and then like he's obviously older, but it's like, oh man, Jackie's still got it. He can still move in a way that reminds you of the movies he's done in his prime. I would say, yeah, that stuff for sure. I mean, you got to talk about Tom hanging on the side of the plane in Mission Impossible, those Mission Impossible movies.
Mission Impossible movies.
How can I top each stunt? Hanging on the side of the plane, climbing the building in Dubai. What's the one that he did? Oh, driving off the cliff in the most recent Mission Impossible,
right?
That was the big one that was in all the promos and in IMAX. You had to see it. But yeah, it's you still get those guys that do it, but it's usually like the usual suspects, right? Like I would say even like the Mad Max movies, like that was the big thing is like they did everything. Like they had some CGI, obviously they had to use CGI to interlace everything. But for the most part, a lot of the chases in Fury Road are just practical stunt work and big explosions and people on rigs and machines and wires. That's crazy that we don't get a lot of wire work anymore.
No, I mean, and to me, one of the best wire works would have been is to go back to Sylvester in Cliffhanger. He's fucking climbing those rocks, or the stuntman's climbing those rocks, and nothing but wire work and that. I'm talking about huge cliffs hanging off the side of a mountain. I mean, that's just phenomenal work.
That's what I love about older movies too, is that a lot of newer movies have this weird sheen to them, or these like effects, and I don't know. There's something weird about the way they look to where something like Cliffhanger. I was shocked watching Pineapple Express. How many stunts are in that movie?
Right, that's what we saw. Like it could stunts are basically just across the board, comedy, action.
Like romance. These guys, they make it look real. And even now, most comedies now look weird. Or they like a movie that I watched on Prime. I think you watched it too. Was Ricky Stenicki. Right. It's fine. It's funny. There's some moments in there that are really like Cena's really funny in it. But it does have this weird like fake movie look, where it's just like, oh yeah, this was definitely meant for streaming. Whereas you watch something like Pineapple Express, which came out a decade ago, and it's done on a smaller budget, but it feels like a big action comedy about a pair of stoners. But they have this crazy good car chase. They jump this rig. There's explosions. There's this final shootout. You have Rogan on a clear wire, when he's jumping over to jump on Gary Cole. It's crazy to me that we use stuntmen for everything all the time on every stunt set. Right. And they've kind of, I don't know, it almost feels like a lost art in a way. Like we use them all the time. And now it's just like we rely so much on computer generated effects.
We do, which is also, I mean, it's a blessing and a curse on these computer effects, right? Because we got at the time, the amazing Marvel superhero movies, but now it's like every movie has these CGI and AI and green screen and blue screen and all these like different type of screens and all these computers, which is cool because you get a huge immersive, world that they build upon. But there's something like we said, watching older movies before the computers came into play, all the stunts that James Cameron did for True Lies, the airplane scene and
Yep.
the Terminator stuff that he did. I mean, hell, I know this movie is one of the worst movies of all time, but even Chris Farley's Beverly Hills Ninja, Chris Farley's doing his own fucking stunts. Like motherfuckers like playing a fucking 300-pound ninja. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Chris Farley himself like did a lot of his own stunts in all of his movies, from like Black Sheep and all this stuff. Like Jim Carrey is another one that did a lot of his own
He's very
stunts.
physical. Like
He's very
like,
physical, like
and
physical comedians.
when you look at movies, I think it's the uncanny valley where things have become so real that now they seem a little off or a little fake, right? Like you could give a pass to something. You know what I love is like the Apes movies. We've talked about the Apes movies where yes, the apes are computer generated through motion capture, but those actors are on set wearing these rigs and gear. They're acting. They're in these real locations. It's not CGI backgrounds. They're really on set. So when you watch those movies, they look and feel real. These apes look fucking real. But when you see something like a recent Marvel movie, right, like the Marvels, you could tell that they're not on a real set. They're not in a real kitchen. They're in a fucking green screen in Atlanta.
Right.
So it's like these little things now. So now that we have a movie that's newer that you could tell is shot on real locations, it's like, oh fuck, this feels like a real movie again. Like it's fucking feels like we've been missing that.
Right. No, it has. I mean, because you could even do a throwback or a callback to like the first Iron Man, where Tony is really wearing that Iron Man suit, and I know RDJ has said repeatedly over the course is like as each movie has progressed, so has the technology to the point where he doesn't even wear any suit on set.
No, he wears these tracking dots.
That's tracking dots. That's all he's wearing now, because now they could just create his suit on the computer.
Which that first Iron Man movie, done on a smaller budget than most of these recent Marvel movies, still looks incredible. Still look like I watched it about a year ago. I rewatched it, and this scene when he escapes and he's fighting all the terrorists, and that suit looks real. When he's coming out and he's killing all these people, like it looks awesome. When he takes flight for the first time, it looks stellar. We need that marriage of CGI and practical. Like even the Lord of the Rings movies, like they knew, okay, we know what to shoot practically and we know what we need CGI for. You have to mix the two. Harry Potter, all these movies knew how to mix both together. The moment that you go only CGI, it's easy. Like we'll just hire 300 underpaid, CGI artists, these VFX artists to do this, overwork them overnight. Well, the movie will look great. But it really doesn't. It really shows.
It really shows. It really shows. I mean, when you create that perfect marriage of CGI with practicality, it really comes across in the screen. It comes across like you actually cared enough to do that, as opposed to just, hey, let's just CGI this, and it's just fucking lazy. It's lazy storytelling. It really is. I mean, because there's something to say where somebody goes out, scouts a location, you got an awesome location to film things in, to the point where everything looks so fucking real, as opposed to like saying, hey, we're just gonna create this fucking green screen dome in fucking Atlanta or wherever the fuck it is, and then we're all just gonna shoot in the dome and everything's gonna be green.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't know, man. What else we got? We're hitting the hour mark. What do you think? You got anything else to add? Any other movies or things about stunt people you want to talk about?
Again, just like all the amazing wire work that was done in the Matrix, because they did a lot of wire work in the Matrix for bullet time. And again, another movie that at the time married CGI and practical stunts together. The bullet time was all computer stuff, but yet when Keanu's falling backwards, that's all wire work. Then the bullet time comes in, the fucking kick Carrie-Anne Moss did at the beginning of the movie was also wire work. A lot of like trick shots. I mean, there's a reason why it's a very cool profession if you really want to be in it, like director and like principal photography. Like there's a reason why they're highly paid, and then I feel like you sort of like undo the profession in the sense where you're like, oh, we'll just do that on the computer. Like, oh, you don't need to get that shot. We'll just do it in post.
Yeah.
There's just something special when you have really amazing camera work. Because never mind the stunts. The stunts are going to be cool, but you also have to incorporate like the camera work. The camera work has to be there. The undershots, the overhead shots, like everything makes the stunt works. Like it's all one. I don't know. I'm just rambling on about it because I'm really excited to finally see a movie that was done the way action movies should be done.
No, I agree. And again, in America, right? Because obviously we could seek out. There's movies in India and China, like we talked about, Korea. They do things still in that way. They get very talented stunt people, and they go make this crazy, cool action movie, and they go and they do that. A lot of those guys do.
Right.
But we've been missing that. We get a couple of movies, but it's always the same company, right? 87 North does Nobody. They do Atomic Blonde. They do
the John Wick movies, didn't they?
The John Wick movies. They do Violent Night, right? Like these are all the same people working on these. But this definitely feels like it feels like a throwback to a different time. Right. But no, I got nothing else to add. I really enjoyed the movie. I'm excited for Apes next week. I think we'll definitely talk about Apes. I've heard nothing but spectacular things about that. So.
We'll talk about the best movies of Spank Your Monkey too.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's perfect.
Absolutely. We got to talk about what was that? What was the ape movie from Nope? The ape TV show.
Oh, Gordy's Home.
Gordy's Home. We got to talk about Gordy's Home when we're talking about apes.
That's true. We could talk about the Mark Wahlberg Planet of the Apes.
Oh God! Oh shit! I guess I should start watching ape movies for next week.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie. I saw it once in theaters. I have not seen it since.
I saw it in theaters too, and then I have not seen it since.
Let's rewatch it.
Should we watch the Mark Wahlberg Apes movie?
Maybe. What if we reappraise it? What if it's like a secret masterpiece that nobody knows?
Okay. So I'm not gonna watch the Charleston Heston ape movies. I'm gonna bypass those motherfuckers. But
you're gonna watch the terrible Tim Burton.
I'll watch the Mark Wahlberg one, and I'll watch the Tim Burton ones, and then right into. Actually, I've watched all the Dave Franco ones, all the newer ones. I actually just did a recent rewatch of those.
Yeah, I mean those three. I mean they're great. Rise is great. Dawn, War. They're really fucking cool. Yeah, I haven't seen. I wouldn't even know what my opinion would be on the Mark Wahlberg one. Besides, I remember seeing it in theaters. I remember it had some kind of. It was kind of relevant in pop culture as a kid. I remember seeing people talk about it and stuff. And
I think there was like a McDonald's or a 7-Eleven throw-in at the time.
I think there might have been. Yeah, I remember something like a tie-in. Remember that movie was really weird looking. It was just a weird vibes of a movie. Fuck it, we got to talk about that movie. I think we just got to revisit it.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so guys, by the time you watch this, it'll be up in the morning. I believe Saturday. We're recording this on a Friday, so we'll have this up, and we'll keep pre-recording these. We'll let you know once we get the live show up and going. But let us know what you thought of the Fall Guy. Make sure to see that this weekend. Comment below. Let us know your thoughts on the movie. Also, who do you want on the show? Let us know. We put an interview up last week. We thought it was really great. So make sure you check that out. And
make sure to check out our interview with Francis, who's going to be the future director of The Evil Dead, which I heard there's 2 Evil Dead movies now coming out. And
there's 2. Yeah.
He's one of the directors for one of them. So check out our interview with Francis.
So, comment, subscribe, share, all those fun things. Did you have fun listening to us talk about stunts and shitting in public and The Rock, who apparently pisses wherever he wants?
And let us know what are your 3 favorite places to take a shit in. We want to know.
You know what? Yes, top 3 favorite spots to take
like we're gonna cut out a piece of this show, and that's gonna be our cut lines. Like, what are your 3 favorite places to shit?
We'll read off we'll read it up on the next show. We'll like say so and so's favorite place to shit is this, and It's like Denny's.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.